Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first, we are at 2,350 subscribers. I want to give a shout out to all the subscribers to the channel, and of course, special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members Y2KHA, Brandon Mikel, Rip, Scott Todd, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tiger 75, John Harper, and Salacious Crumb. All right. It's time. We got to talk about it. Would the Seattle Seahawks actually do it? We would talk about it. We would take a look at it. We would clearly consider it, but would the Seattle Seahawks actually do it? I'm dubious. I think there are a lot of reasons why it doesn't make any sense, and not very many reasons why it would make sense. But there's enough smoke to where I need to make a little bit of a fire here and at least make one video about it. So today, as much as I don't want to, and as much as I'm sure all of you don't want to think about it, let's entertain the possibility of the Seattle Seahawks signing Adam Gase to be their next offensive coordinator. The team has spoken to him, it seems like. The team has considered hiring him. The team has him on the list. So to ignore it would be to ignore basic reality. However, after taking a look at Adam Gase's resume, it's tough for me to believe we would actually do this. And quite frankly, if we do this, it's going to be really hard to care about this team going forward. Because what else can you say about a hire like this other than the coach is trying to get fired or he's trying to lose? But let's go ahead and dive in, and I'll try to be as objective as I can about this candidate and the potential for hiring him. It's a meme, I know. But before we get into the meme, let's just try to be real for a few minutes here. So, Adam Gase. What can we say about Adam Gase? Well, 42 years old. He's actually quite young. He was younger than I am now when he was the wide receiver coach for the Broncos, which was the first part of his resume that we're going to be covering in this video. Which kind of feels crazy to me, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm getting older, and these coaches are staying the same age. All right, so as for his resume, if you start from 2010, he actually has a pretty good result in the 2010 season for the Denver Broncos as their wide receiver coach. Now, the Broncos were a very bad team. They went 4-12 and got the number 2 overall pick. They were awful. Their offense was a little below average, 21.5 points a game, 19th in the league. But if you isolate just the wide receivers on this Broncos squad, it's actually pretty impressive. Brandon Lloyd had a Pro Bowl caliber year, 1,450 yards, 77 catches, 11 touchdowns. Great year from Brandon Lloyd, one of the best years of his career, maybe the best. Jabbar Gaffney was their number 2, and he had 65 catches for almost 900 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Eddie Royal was the slot guy with almost 60 catches for 630 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, look, the Broncos were playing from behind a lot because they had the worst defense in the league, so these numbers are inflated. But this is not bad given the fact that his QB for most of the year was Kyle Orton, not a very good quarterback. So, yeah, it's safe to say that Adam Gase did pretty good work this year as a wide receiver coach, even if the team was not particularly good. The next year, however, well, when Tim Tebow is your quarterback, what do you really expect from your wide receivers, right? The team was better. They went 8-8, made the playoffs, won a playoff game. But the offense was worse, 19 points a game, 25th in the league. And there were basically no wide receivers on this team to speak of. Eric Decker was their number 1 with 44 catches for 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. Demaryius Thomas broke out in his second year a little bit with 32 catches for 551 yards and 4 touchdowns. And the only other receiver of any note was Eddie Royal, who had 19 catches for 155 yards and a touchdown. Now, I'm not putting this on Adam Gase's work as a wide receiver coach. When you have Tim Tebow as your quarterback, your receivers are not going to be doing much of anything. That just is what it is. And that's proven in large part because the next year the Broncos got a real quarterback, Peyton Manning, and proceeded to have one of the best offenses and best receiver groups in the league. They went 13-3. They averaged over 30 points a game, which was second in the league. Demaryius Thomas became a Pro Bowler, almost 100 catches, 1,400 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Decker went to another Pro Bowl caliber guy, 85 catches, 1,064 yards, and 13 touchdowns. And Brandon Stokely out of the slot had 45 for 550 and 5 touchdowns. At this point, Adam Gase got promoted, and looking at the way the receivers played in 2012, granted with one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, it makes sense why he would have earned that promotion. And he proceeded to, as the Broncos offensive coordinator, now controlling the whole offense, have the greatest year by any offense in NFL history. They went 13-3. They averaged almost 38 points a game, which was number one in the league, and I think number one in NFL history. They averaged 340 pass yards per game, which was number one in the league, and they had an average rushing attack, 117 yards per game. Pretty solid. So Adam Gase stays with the Broncos the next year, stays as the offensive coordinator, goes 12-4, 30 points a game, second in the league, still very much elite. The passing game falls off to 291 yards per game, which is fourth, and the running game basically stays the same, 112 yards, 15th in the league, average rushing attack. And at this point, Adam Gase was kind of on top of the world, but everybody suspected that it had a lot more to do with Peyton Manning than it did Adam Gase. Was that the case? Well, let's take a look. He followed John Fox the next year and stayed as the offensive coordinator under John Fox for the Chicago Bears for 1 year in 2015. How did it go? Well, he had real quarterback issues this year. He had Jay Cutler for a little bit, and then he had Matt Barkley for a little bit, so he didn't have a lot to work with. The team went 6-10. They scored 21 points a game, which was 23rd in the league, so pretty lackluster, pretty bad. 23rd in passing yards, 229 yards a game through the air, and 116 yards on the ground, which was 11th, which is actually pretty decent, especially given the fact this was not a very good Bears team. So understandably bad results, but still bad results, and it was time for Adam Gase to get his shot as a head coach. First year, things went okay in Miami for the Dolphins. 2016, they went 10-6, made the playoffs. Almost 23 points a game, 17th. Mediocre offense. One of the worst passing attacks in the league, 26th. But one of the better rushing attacks in the league, 114 yards a game, which was 9th. So, top 10 rushing offense. And then, you guys kind of know where the Adam Gase story goes from here. The next year, they go 6-10. They have one of the worst offenses in the league, 17.5 points a game. A slightly below average pass attack, 221 yards, and 87 rush yards a game, which is one of the worst rushing games in the NFL. And the next year, things slightly better, kind of, sort of, maybe not really. They go 7-9, almost 20 points a game, which is still bad, 26th. Their passing game craters to 30th in the league. Tannehill missed part of this season, and they had to go through a bit of a revolving door of quarterbacks by the end of the year, which makes it somewhat understandable, but still one of the worst passing attacks in the league, and an average rushing attack, 108 yards a game, 18th. And at this point, he lost his job with the Dolphins and was out looking for new employment. He did manage to land another head coaching gig in New York for the Jets. Oh, and by the way, before we move on from his Dolphin stint, it needs to be pointed out that Ryan Tannehill would move on to another team and under another coaching staff became a much better and much more successful quarterback. Just putting that out there. So for the Jets, they went 7-9. They had one of the worst offenses in the league, 31st, 17.3 points a game. Sam Darnold missed the first month of the season with mono, but no real excuse for how bad this offense was. 194 pass yards a game. One of the worst totals in the league. 79 rush yards per game, one of the worst totals in the league. One of the worst offenses in all the NFL for sure. And then next year, 2-14. I mean, one of the worst teams in the league once again. 15 points a game. One of the worst offenses in recent memory. The worst offense in the league in 2020. 175 pass yards per game. It would be hard to have a pass attack much worse than this. 31st in the league. Slightly better, but still quite bad rushing attack. 105 yards a game. And that gets us to the present, where Adam Gase is now fired. So, after leaving Peyton Manning and the Broncos and resigning himself to lesser talented quarterbacks and lesser talented offenses, you can see how bad the results have been for offenses under Adam Gase's control. He had bad year, bad year, bad year, bad year, bad year. One okay year, one average year with the Dolphins that first season. Since then, he's done nothing but suck, been one of the worst offenses in the league, very little good to hang his hat on, and we know for a fact that he ran at least one good QB into the ground before he escaped to another city and revitalized his career. So let's go ahead and score Adam Gase. Feasibility, I say 4 out of 10. I have no doubt that Adam Gase would be happy to land a coordinator job anywhere, and I suspect that he will land a coordinator job somewhere this offseason. I don't think his name is poison enough to just prevent him from getting any kind of job, but if you hire him as your offensive coordinator, you have to realize how much everyone's going to make fun of you. And I know people making fun of you doesn't make you lose, but people making fun of you, it has to register in your mind somewhat. And his results these last 6 years have been bad. Like, not even below average or almost bad, just plain bad overall. He has one decent season. So, I say 4 out of 10. It makes sense to me that he would get a coordinator job, but I have a feeling it wouldn't be here. And I'll get into why in this next category with the fit with Carroll. I gave Adam Gase a 3 out of 10. If Adam Gase has any tendencies as an offensive mind in the NFL, it's to be pass first. He was a wide receiver coach. His only success in the NFL came with one of the most prolific, maybe the most prolific passing game in NFL history. So, if anything, he is pass first. He's never had an elite rushing offense in his career outside of in Denver with Tebow when he wasn't even running the offense. He was just the wide receiver coach. So, yeah. He's never had an elite rush attack. He's had one top 10 rush attack. So, not only is Adam Gase not good, he's not even good at the stuff that I think Pete Carroll values. So, this doesn't make sense to me from Carroll's side. And as for a fit with the modern NFL, I gave him a 2 out of 10. The only reason why it's not a 1 out of 10 is that he did have one okay year with Miami, and you can't completely forget he was the coordinator for the greatest offense in NFL history, but we're as close to forgetting that as we can at this point because the dude just cannot put anything together since he left. And that gets us to our overall final score, 2 out of 10. We have seen him completely fall on his face in 3 different locations since leaving Peyton Manning and the Broncos. We can no longer take that stint with the Broncos very seriously when it comes to evaluating how good or bad Gase might be. We also know for a fact that he held back Ryan Tannehill when he was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins because Tannehill went to Tennessee and immediately played much better. So, this would certainly be the hire that would test my faith as a fan. And I think a lot of fans out there would agree with me. So, hopefully we don't end up with Adam Gase, but I did want to take this video to evaluate him honestly and objectively and see how I felt. And the answer is I don't feel any differently than I did before I shot this video. I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. Catch me on stream tonight. New video tomorrow. You guys know the drill. And, all right. We've doused ourselves in the Adam Gase kerosene for a few minutes. Now let's pull ourselves out and never go back in. See you later.